Hello. Oh my God, this wind. Hi. Hi, Ashley. Let's see if anyone's going to show up. I realize I probably should have scheduled this earlier. It's winter time. It's getting dark. It feels really late. It feels much later than it actually is. But we're here now. So we're going to do what it do. Make it work. Anybody else here? Hi, Ashley. How are you? I don't know if that's you that's still here, but how are you doing? Yeah, enjoying the long weekend. That's good. Honestly, you mentioned that. I didn't even realize this weekend was going to be a long weekend until like Thursday. Because as far as my externship is concerned, we very much still have work on Monday, which I feel like is a little trifling. But no one at work at my externship mentioned that it was a holiday on Monday, so I completely forgot. And who actually reminded me was one of my patients because she canceled our session on Monday for the long weekend. So I wish I could take advantage of it, but I can't. I do have meetings and stuff tomorrow, unfortunately. But yeah. But I'm happy that you're catching up on some readings. Are they readings for school or like leisurely reading? What are you reading right now? The dog is so loud. That's good that you're getting the day off. It's always nice when jobs and placements and stuff actually acknowledge holidays and the need for rest, even if they're not like, what are they called? Is it like national holidays? The holidays that like everyone gets off? I don't know. Hey, congratulations. Last semester of coursework. That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah. So you're getting ahead on readings then, rather than like catching up. You're doing readings for your next semester that's about to start. I could not be making sense. So let me know if I'm not making sense. Um, let's see. Someone else just joined. I don't really have a plan for this. Just thought I'd open up the live and talk and answer whatever questions folks might have, because I've been getting a lot of questions in like the comment sections of my videos lately, and they're like questions that I don't necessarily feel like warrant entire videos to answer. And so I have a few that I like wrote down and thought I'd answer here. But if at any point folks join and y'all have questions, just put them in the chat and I will stop what I'm doing and answer them, because as of right now, the plan is to just talk. Last week was your first week of classes. Okay. No, yeah, I honestly think the Northeast, specifically like New York and New Jersey, I feel like other people start at a reasonable time in January and we just start really late. Like we start at the absolute end of the month pretty much. I am not a fan of that. Because by the time the end of January gets here, to have to start up school and all of that just feels really like not. I feel like I already start off feeling like I'm behind because I know that other people have been in school and have started their semester like weeks before us. I'm actually not starting for like another week. So I have a whole another week before my semester starts and I don't fully know what I'm going to do at that time. I'm probably just going to use it to try to catch up on some dissertation work. But yeah, I mean, congrats on being your final semester of coursework. This semester would also be my final semester of coursework if my program could get their shit together. But I am not able to take one final course that I wanted to take this semester so that it could be done. So I have just one class left that I will not be able to take until next year. But other than that, congrats. Hi. First year PhD student. Hi. I don't want to say your name wrong. Is it Araba? Araba? Let me know if you can how to pronounce your screen name. I don't want to say it wrong. But hi. Congrats on being a first year PhD student. I hope this first year has been going well for you. And you haven't yet been disillusioned by anything like I have and like so many other PhD students have. Araba. Okay. Araba. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'll be here for a little minute answering some questions, whatever questions y'all have. Hi, Natisse. I guess I will just start off answering a couple questions that I've been getting in some comments lately. Yeah, it is an adjustment for sure. Especially if like, I don't know if you are coming, like you started straight from undergrad or if you like went to a master's program first, but I think in either case, like starting a PhD program is such a huge adjustment. And it always, I think when I talk to people, a common feeling we share is that it just feels like you just kind of hit the ground running. Like there's really no easing into it, which I think is different than a lot of other like academic settings. Like I remember in undergrad, like you used to have like syllabus week where like your first week or two of class, like you didn't really do much. It was kind of just going over like the basics of the curriculum and all of that. Versus I feel like in every semester of my PhD program so far, like there has been like, what is syllabus week? It's like you get the syllabus a week ahead and your first class is like you get to work. It's not easy. Do I want to talk about my dissertation proposal? I don't think I do. It's there. Admittedly, it's there, and I have not really done anything for it since like early December. I I had like externship applications, and I just literally like yesterday just finished up an application for a fellowship that I'm applying for, and all of that just has been like eating up all of my time and focus and mental energy. And so yeah, a dissertation proposal went on the back burner for the month of December. But I did have a meeting with someone from my dissertation committee this past week. And we talked a lot about like the logistics of what exactly I'm trying to do and how much work it's going to be. I think I said this in a video. I actually don't remember if I did, but I think I mentioned in a video that my original plan for my dissertation was to do a 3-part study, 2 of which are like qualitative interviews, and then the first part would be like a survey. And by the end of this meeting that I had this week, it's now 2 parts only. We got rid of the 3rd part. It feels like I'm biting off more than I can chew, and I don't have enough time to reasonably and properly do the type of study that I want to do and I'm hoping to do. So we're down to 2 parts. Not particularly happy about it, but I feel like it's the best decision that I could make right now for my sanity. So that's where we're at. And I'm going to probably start working on it again sometime this week. You're working on, you said you're working on yours too, Natise. How's yours going? Are you like, have you defended it yet, or are you also still writing it? You're 22. Oh my God. Yeah, you're young. In my cohort when we started, the youngest was 24. And yeah, she was telling me that it was like a huge adjustment for her. Yeah, starting a PhD program, I feel like that young is really hard, especially because in PhD programs, like I feel like most folks are like fairly like older than like in their like late 20s, early 30s, maybe even 40s. And so coming in as like a 22-year-old, like, yeah, like I'm not trying to be offensive or anything, but like, yeah, like you're a baby. You're a baby. I hope you defend by the end of the month. Fingers crossed, sending you good vibes that you can defend by the end of the month. My plan is hopefully to defend by the end of March. We'll see if that happens, but that's the goal right now. That is the goal. But if you're hoping to defend by the end of the month, then you should. It sounds like you're pretty close to being done, which is good. So I'm rooting for you. You're my inspiration. If you get it done by the end of this month, it'll give me motivation to be done by the end of March. So I'm counting on you. No pressure. Yes, send me updates. Let's see. I don't know. Does anyone have any questions? Because if not, then I'll probably just start rambling pretty soon about questions that I've gotten recently in my comment sections. But if anyone has like any immediate questions that you want to ask, go right ahead. Yeah. Yeah, moving alone is hard. And you move to the Midwest at that from the East Coast. I know that's probably a huge like culture shock. I don't know many people from the Midwest, but I feel like I've been to like Chicago and stuff, and I feel like just the vibe in general is a lot different than like New York and New Jersey and other East Coast cities. It's yeah. It's how did I make friends? I think I was in a much better position, I think, to make friends in my program because my program is set up a little differently than most PhD programs in the country. In that, like, in order to even apply for my school's PhD program, you have to have gone through their master's program. And so mostly everyone that I ended up starting my program with, like who was in my cohort, were people that I had already more or less gotten to know in the 2 years of the master's program. Like I didn't know all of them super well, but I had like a few that I had spoken to and gotten relatively close with. Um, but for the most part, we all came in knowing, at least knowing of each other. And I think that kind of put us in a much better position to really like find ways to connect with one another and get closer. Um, and also we're like a pretty, I think one of like the largest cohorts as far as PhD programs go. My cohort started off with 15 people, which is really big for a PhD cohort. I feel like most programs, their cohort sizes range from like five, four being the smallest I think I've ever heard, to, other than my program, I think the biggest I've ever heard is like nine. Um, so most PhD cohorts are much, much smaller than mine are, which can also make it really hard to make friends. But I would say like, don't feel limited to like just making friends with people in your cohort. If you are in a program that like shares a building with other programs, like branch out, go to like, I don't know, meetings or, club meetings, organizational meetings, find a organization that like speaks to you and become a member of that. You can always like branch out and meet people of other disciplines. And I actually encourage that. Like, don't stay within the psychology bubble. Um, one, because it's not always a fun place to be in. But also like I feel like I've learned the most from like people from other disciplines and other backgrounds who I just happen to come in contact with through, academic spaces and lab meetings and stuff. I have a couple of people that I talk to now who aren't in my clinical psychology program. They're in the other psychology program. What is it? Cognitive, social, and developmental psychology. I have a couple of folks in that program that I talk to. I know a couple of philosophy students. So yeah, don't like stick within the psychology bubble if you don't have to. Definitely like branch out. Also find like things in your community, in your city that you might be interested in if you can and if you have time. I know that's very hard and very difficult. So it's also fine if you don't have time to do that, but because I know I don't. Um, but yeah, that would be my advice. Um, I hope that was helpful. I feel like that was a very long and drawn out explanation. Yes. If your school has one, I definitely recommend joining it. Um, I also recently became a member of, well, not recently, not like super recently, but like earlier this year, last year, 2023, became a member of AB Psi. Um, and also I went to like the Division 45 conference last year, which is like racial, ethnic, cultural studies division of the APA. Um, so yeah, definitely find safe spaces, Black spaces, because they're so supportive. I've never been in any of those spaces and felt unsupportive. So find those spaces for sure. We need them. It's so windy outside. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but my windows are rattling. It's so windy right now. Hi, thank you, Liberated Soul. Um, so you're graduating in May as a school counselor and you want to be a clinical psychologist. So you plan on going back to school again? You want to go back to school? Are you sure about that? But thank you. Thank you for supporting. Oh, thank you, veggies and chill. That's hilarious. Oh, I'm sorry. But thank you. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I guess culture shock. I feel like that's something that people don't talk about enough. Um, it's like the huge transition that it is, really. Okay. Graduated in 2014, so you had a break. Um, I feel like I feel like that might be why you're deciding to go back. Um, I feel like that happens when we've been out of school for a while and then we're like, oh, I could go back for more. I could do it again. I think that's how I felt after I graduated undergrad and I took a 2-year break and I was like, yeah, I need to go back. If I don't, my life's not going to work out. Um, and I'm here now and I'm dying to be done, but I definitely commend you. Yeah. Don't let me discourage you. I'm just a struggling PhD student who is ready to get the hell up out of here. So don't listen to me. I'm probably not the best person to take advice from in that area. But yeah, I forgot what I was saying. I was talking about something. Jeez. Yes, I feel like go to any PhD student who's like third year or above, and we will beg you not to make the same wrong decisions that we made. Um, because it's not fun here. This is not a fun time. I'm not enjoying this as much as I thought I would. No, I'm not currently on internship. I am on externship right now. I'm doing technically what is my second year of externship. I don't think what I did in my first year is considered externship. I think it's just training. Um, I'm sorry. I'm not like I'm honestly not intentionally trying to make you second guess your decision. I'm just being really honest in what my experience has been. Like honestly, if you really, really want to go back, I would say just make sure that it's something you really want to do. Like don't do it because you think it's gonna be good, or don't do it for like shallow reasons. Like if you're gonna go back and you're gonna get your degree in clinical psychology, make sure it's for a very dedicated reason. Um, because it's not easy. It's not a fun time. But I'm not trying to like make you second guess your decision. I promise. I'm just being honest. Um, but back to your question, Araba. I am not on internship. I will be applying to internship this next year, this next academic year. So starting, I'm pretty sure they make us start working on our applications over the summer. So like starting in the summer, basically, I'm gonna start working on my internship applications. And I have been avoiding thinking about it for as long as I possibly can. And I don't think I can put it off any longer. Because for my fellowship application, I actually had to talk about what my plans for internship are possibly going to be. And it was very anxiety provoking. But yeah, I'm going to be applying to internship next academic year. So then the following year, which would be what 2025 to 2026 will be the year that I am on internship, hopefully. Okay. Aiming to be an LPC first. Yeah. Yeah, definitely like do other try other pathways first and then decide later if you can if the PhD or PsyD route is the route you actually want to take. That's a good idea. Good job. Hmm. That's so interesting. I've never so you did your master's first and then went straight to your PhD, which is what most people do. But you're saying you wish you would have taken a break. Is that because like you wished you would have tried another pathway first, or is it just because like you're burnt out? Because I think that's the first time I've ever heard someone say they wished they took a break before, like between their master's and their PhD. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's hard. Yeah. Yeah, time is non-existent as a PhD student. I and it's crazy because I know people who work like full-time jobs as a PhD student too, and I'm like, how do you have time to just live? Like it just feels impossible. I work part-time, barely, and I feel like I don't have enough time to do anything. My research interests. So I started off in my master's program actually really interested in um, like intergenerational trauma. Like that was something that I always knew I wanted to study and research. But since being in my master's program and starting my dissertation, my master's thesis started like I started integrating the concept of like sharing stories, sharing narratives, shared memory. And that has since morphed into just storytelling. So where I'm at now is kind of like the intersection between intergenerational trauma and storytelling in Black families. So basically, not just like how trauma is passed down intergenerationally from like grandparents to parents to children, but how that can either be facilitated or like buffered, like the impacts of trauma can be facilitated or buffered by storytelling within the family and how the storytelling happens. So like everyone says like, oh, it's great if like your family communicates a lot and you talk a lot about your history, like that's all really important. But also like what if the stories you're being told are, stories of trauma that you aren't necessarily prepared to handle or prepared to hear, or like now you're hearing these stories and you're feeling like a burden is put on you in some way. um just like I'm looking at like how those two things come together. um and I that's kind of where I'm at right now. And ultimately, the part of my dissertation that I actually got rid of, that is where I ultimately want to take my research, is family interventions and like treatments and therapy. Um, like that's where I ultimately want to get with my research. Oh, you had to drop your job? Wait, like your actual job? Or are you doing clinical hours too, Natisse? Or no? Or are you done with that and you're just working on your dissertation and research? The Brewed Soul is just in here getting double teamed by me and Natisse about how much he shouldn't, or they, I'm not sure if you're he or she or they, but just how much you shouldn't probably do a PhD. Thank you, Araba. Thank you. I know you're just in your first year of your program, but do you have a sense of like what you want to research yet, or have you already started working on your research? I'd be interested to know. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Braided soul. We don't intentionally misgender around here, so I just always got to make sure. Gotcha. Okay. So, I mean, but you still had clinical hours to be doing. It's just that time and time consuming. Um, how hard is it to get clients in private? Did you start your own private practice, or were you like working under somebody else? I'm always interested to hear how that works when someone is still in school. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's the problem I'm actually having now at my externship. I have a patient who has been no showing for like 3 weeks now. Um, and I like can't get in contact with them and I'm not exactly sure what's happening. Arba, that is amazing. And actually, that's almost exactly what my research advisor does. So I am going to reach out to you privately and I'm going to give you some resources that might help you on that research journey because that's pretty much exactly what my dissertation chair does. Um, so I think that might be helpful for you. Yeah, of course, no problem. Anything to make research easier because research is not easy to do at all. It's especially when you're just starting out, it feels like jumping into a pool and not knowing how to swim and not having a life vest. So I always wish when I first started doing my research, I had more guidance than I did. Um, so I'm always willing to like offer any resources to anyone. Hi, Kita. Just congrats on being the first year of your program. My winter break so far has been a few weeks. I'm like just now getting to the point, honestly, where I can like say that I might be able to get some rest. But how am I feeling about the upcoming semester? Um, hmm. I feel honestly, I feel like I'm kind of starting off irritated with the semester just because it's like not the semester that I originally wanted it. Like I couldn't plan it out the way I initially wanted to plan it out as far as like the classes that I'm taking and my schedule. Um, I already mentioned this earlier in the live, but I'll say it again here just for context. My there is a required course that I was supposed to be taking this semester that I can no longer take because my school couldn't find a faculty member to teach the class. And that class would have been like the last course ever that I had to take in my program. And then I would have been done after the semester with my coursework. But because that class isn't happening, I'm being forced to take it next year, hopefully. And so that was already like a stick in the mud. And then there was another class that I wanted to take that they just decided wasn't going to be offered anymore. So then I had to find another class to replace that one. And the class that I replaced it with is happening at like a really inconvenient time for me in my schedule. But like, there's really nothing else that I can take next semester that I haven't already taken. And I just really want to be done with my credits. So I'm like starting off pre-annoyed basically, but it shouldn't be, as far as classes go, it like shouldn't be, I'm hoping it shouldn't be like a tough semester. Um, and like I'm still going to be at my externship that I'm at currently, and my schedule for that is like pretty reasonable. I see patients 2 days a week. And then I just have like dissertation stuff to work on, which is where like the majority of my stress is coming from right now. So those are my feelings on my semester that is starting in a week and 2 days. Um, yeah, yeah, it's, I don't understand. And I'm learning through talking with other people that like this isn't necessarily an issue with like my program specifically. Um, like every PhD program has issues when it comes to staffing, I think is like something I'm hearing a lot of from other people. Like for some reason, getting and keeping faculty members seems to be really difficult for PhD programs. And I feel like it has a lot to do with the fact that like they just don't want to pay people. And if they would just pay people what they deserve and pay people a living wage, they wouldn't have these issues. But I digress. But Kita, you said you're in your first year. Are you in a PhD program for clinical psych or another program? Because I'm also realizing I probably shouldn't assume that everyone is like a psychology student. Yeah, of course. I honestly, like, truly, that is really the whole reason I started my channel is I just wanted to be able to like give people a very raw, very honest perspective on what being a clinical psychology PhD student is like. And if you've like been able to like watch my videos from the very beginning of like my channel, you will literally see like shifts that are happening, like my thoughts, my feelings about my program, my outlook on my program. Like it's literally, you can see it changing in real time because like as I'm progressing through my program, I'm becoming like the veil is being lifted almost. Of like I started off so hopeful and so excited, and like I was so like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and like, oh, I'm happy to be starting my program. And now I'm like, I'm ready to get out of here. Like academia is not fun. And I understand now why so many people leave academia because it is just, it's really like, it's wild out here. Um, how much, the dreaded question, how much longer do I have? I have 2.5 years left, including, if I'm including this semester that I'm about to start, I have 2.5 years left. But one of those years is internship, which I don't really know whether or not to count as like a year because at that point I'm like not really interacting with my program beyond like just making sure my hours are accounted for and finishing up my dissertation. Um, Internship just is like a, basically I'm working a full-time job and being severely underpaid for it. So technically 2.5 years until I graduate. Um, and then I have postdoc. Um, oh, school psychology at LSU. That's cool. You're in the South. Okay. Very cool. I'm more interested in academia or practice. I, at this point in my program, am definitely leaning more towards practice. I think I started off, like I said, I started off very hopeful, and I knew I never wanted to be like fully just in academia. I always wanted to do some practice and like see clients and stuff. But for like the first 2 years of my program, I was really on the like path of like trying to do both. Like I was going to be in academia and also see like patients on the side, and kind of like bounce between the two, because the the common like consensus that I've heard is that like it's much easier to go into academia right after you graduate versus like going immediately into practice and then trying to get into academia later. Um, and I do have like a lot of research that I want to continue doing and like working on. And so, yeah, it was pretty much, at least for the first 2 years of my program, was like, I'll do academia and practice. Each will be like half of my time. But now, like, I still have research that I want to finish, but like, it's no longer like it's definitely more like I think I'm gonna do practice, and then like I will work on research, but not be like the lead researcher on most of what I do. Um, and like I have like people in my lab who are doing pretty similar work to me, and so we'll be able to collaborate on things in the future. But yeah, I academia is it's hard when your like entire livelihood basically relies on, you know, how much you publish and what grants you can get. And it's like I see it now in my research advisor. I see it in my mentors who are in academia. It's like a lot of people are leaving academia right now because it's too hard to survive off of it when it feels like everything is against you. So I'm definitely less and less wanting to really take that route and focus more on just like doing clinical practice, um, which is really like what I enjoy doing the most anyway. I've always enjoyed seeing patients the most out of anything that I do. It's even now, like when I'm feeling the most stressed, like when I'm at my externship and when I'm seeing my patients, I'm good. Like everything else is just like the back of my head. It's the part of it that I enjoy the most. So it would make sense for me to just take that route. Thank you, liberated soul. Thank you. I'm hoping it will pay off. You never know. Um, yeah, so with postdoc, um, postdoc isn't necessarily a requirement. Um, I actually, for like a while, maybe like a year, my first year in the program, I actually didn't know postdoc was like something I might have to do. I thought I originally thought postdoc was only for people who wanted to go into academia, um, because postdocs for academia basically kind of like is how you get your foot in the door at an institution. You start off as a postdoc and you start doing research at whatever institution you end up at for postdoc. And then from there, you can kind of like work your way up the ladder into like adjunct professor, tenured professor, assistant professor, whatever I don't even know the order of the rankings, but like it's like you're like an associate professor and then you're like an assistant professor and then you're a professor. I don't know. Um, but then I found out that for people who want to get licensed, you do have to work after you graduate for a period of years under the supervision of someone else before you can get your license, or before you can even like sit for the exam. You have to have accrued a certain number of hours under the supervision of someone who is licensed, and that is technically postdoc. So not everyone calls it postdoc, but if you are going into academia, chances are postdoc will probably be the easiest way for you to get your foot in the door with academia. And if you're going the clinical route of wanting to get licensed, then it's basically a requirement. Um, just they don't always call it a postdoc, but that's what it is. And yeah, I think I answered your question. I thought there was a part of your question I didn't get to yet, but I guess I answered it. Let me know if I answered your question. Uh, no, Arba. I mean, follow your dreams. Don't let my pessimism ruin it for you. If you, I definitely feel like it is possible to do both. And I know a couple of people in my program who are faculty members who do both. Um, I will also say, from my experience, those professors are also very spread thin, because it is a lot of work to have a research lab and advise a bunch of students while also seeing patients on the side, but it is doable. So definitely go for it if that is something you want to do. Salary. When it comes to money, when you're pursuing clinical psychology, or psychology in general, when it comes to money, it is safest to assume that until you are either a tenured professor and or a licensed clinician with your own private practice, it is safest to assume that you will be underpaid in some way. Without getting into like the nitty gritty of the numbers, chances are you will be underpaid for most of your career unless you get to tenured professorship and or open your own private practice. That's just the way of the world, the way of the economy, capitalism. I can tell you, since I'm now like on the internship path, the highest paying internship that I'm aware of in the New York, New Jersey area is, what is it? Like 50, like around 50 something thousand, for the year. And you're working 40 plus hours a week. So, and that's the highest. On the low end, they can go as low as like in the 30s. So it's not good out here when it comes to money. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I not even gonna lie and say that I can try to pronounce your screen name. Um, But thank you, and I'm glad you find the videos helpful. Yeah, 50 in New York. It's yeah. It's honestly like I don't understand how no one has tried to fight for higher than that, considering where we live, like New York, New Jersey. It's expensive up here. 50 is not even close to being able to afford to live up here. Um, so yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but that's the high end. It's terrible. Oh, we were talking about salaries for like postdoc positions, even though I'm not entirely sure how much most people get for postdoc because I'm just not there yet. But I know for internship in my area, New York, New Jersey, the highest paid internship up like in this area is like in the 50s, like 50,000 range for 40 plus hours of work a week, basically, which is not good. If I can give a piece of advice to myself, me in undergrad, oh, mm, I would say I feel like that's kind of hard because in undergrad, I didn't think I'd be doing clinical psych. I don't know if y'all know this, but when I was in undergrad, I was pre-med. I was fully 100% like tunnel vision, thought I was going to med school. I didn't think I was going to do clinical psychology while I was in undergrad at all. But if I did have to give myself advice based on where I'm at now, I would probably say join a research lab. I didn't do any research in undergrad, which worked out to be like a detriment to my applications for PhD programs in some way. Um, but also like don't rush the journey. Um, I ended up taking 2 years off after undergrad. Um, and I think that was probably the best decision I could have ever made for myself. But I initially was like, I'm going to go straight through. I'm not going to take any breaks. I want to get in, get out, get done so I can start making some money. Um, and yeah, I think taking those 2 years off is probably the best thing I could have done for myself. So don't rush the journey. Take your time, do what you got to do, and just take care of yourself. 50 an hour, no, 50,000 for the year, my friend. 40 hours of work a week and you get 50,000 a year for that year. Um, they don't like to pay people. And what I've heard is like they justify it by saying like, oh, we might not be paying you in money, but we're paying you in experience. We're paying you in training. We're paying you in hours for to count towards like your requirements for your licensing. Like they find all sorts of ways to justify not paying you actual money. And it's bullshit, honestly. Because they really could afford to pay. They just they don't want to. Yeah, exactly. It's faculty members, especially like when you're starting out, your pay is not like the number of faculty members that have rotated through my program. We have one class in particular in my program that has a new professor every year. Like since I started my master's program in 2019, that course has never had the same professor 2 years in a row. And it's because for the amount of work that it is to teach a class, like programs just don't pay you enough. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, I've understood anyone who is pre-med in undergrad that ultimately became a psychology student, it is because pre-med sent you into your first existential crisis and you were forced to deal with a lot of shit that you weren't dealing with before, and you came out on the other end and you're like, I want to help other people get through stuff like this. I feel like it's just a canon event. If you are pre-med and you end up in psychology, that's usually what happened at some point. Um, and I feel like we need to start a support group for that because it happens very often. 120 per hour at a private practice is actually quite well, I don't know how skewed my sense is considering where I live. Um, in New York, New Jersey, 120 per hour at private practice is very low. I don't know many private practice therapists who have session fees below 150. And even then, like 150 is pretty rare. Um, I would say New York, New Jersey area, the average per session fee in private practice could range anywhere from like 2 to 300, like mid range, and on the high end, I've seen it go up to like 5. Um, it's That's another thing that I hate. These therapists charging absolutely outrageous session fees. Um, but yes, New York, New Jersey is where I plan to practice. I came to this area for grad school specifically because this is where I wanted to end up, um, like after I'm licensed. Um, and also because New York and New Jersey have um, a an agreement of sorts where like you can get licensed in New York and then do like a smaller, briefer exam to also be licensed in New Jersey. So you have like a double licensure situation going on up here, which is always helpful when it comes to like getting clients and stuff. Um, I feel like maybe if I had to consider any other cities or states, it would probably just be Connecticut, maybe Pennsylvania. Um, but I definitely want to stay in like the northeast area. I don't really anticipate going anywhere else. Um, mhm, yeah. Oh, don't get me started on funding. Do not get me student funding. Oh, don't get me started. I could talk about that for how long have I've been here for an hour already. I could probably rant for like another hour about funding. It's the part of this that pisses me off the most. Truthfully, um, defense against the dark arts. What are you talking about, Ganesh? What are you talking about? Um, yeah, they literally have the money. Um, Especially like these. I'll speak less on public institutions because I feel like public institutions do well. Most of them. I can't speak for all of them, but I feel like most public institutions in my area do a relatively good job of funding their students. It's the private institutions that I have a problem with. Um, it's a pain in the ass. Yeah, travel funding too. And that's annoying because they make you like they tell you you have to like go to conferences, you have to present at conferences, and it's like, okay, you're telling me I have to do these things because it goes towards my requirements for graduation. Where do you expect me to get the money? The conference that I went to over the summer, Division 45, I funded like half of that trip for myself. And it was not cheap. And I was so grateful that I was able to do that. But like had I not, Like I just couldn't have gone, and I wouldn't like that's at this point that's the only conference I feel like I'm ever going to be able to go to, and I don't really know what I'm going to do because I am required to present at least 3 conferences, and I can't afford to go to them. Go back to the drawing board. Yeah, these are the things you got to think about when it comes to doing a PhD program. You got to think about all of these. You got to think about money. You got to think about living expenses. You got to think about stress. You got to think about time, how much time it takes. There's a lot you have to consider that I don't think people really tell you ahead of time to consider. Oh, the high turnover. Yeah, it's Harry Potter Defense Against the Dark Arts. Yeah, new professor every year. It's ridiculous. Um, Conferences also need to lower student rates. Yep, or let us attend for free. Actually, yeah, they should let us attend for free, especially if we're presenting. I don't understand why I have to pay if I'm presenting. Mm-hmm. Academia in general, higher education in general, is designed for the rich. If you're poor, you were never meant to go get a degree. Like it was never meant for working class, middle class, lower class people to get a degree. It's always been meant for the rich. It is sad. I love how I love how this has just turned into us ranting about capitalism and the predatory nature of higher education. I love this for us. Um, I how long have I been? I have been on here for an hour though. I'm gonna start getting ready to wrap up soon, but yes, yeah, we clearly needed this today. I love this for us, truly. Yeah, just figure out what's best for you. I have a couple of videos on my channel where I talk about like the types of questions you should probably like think about before you choose a program to get into or to apply to. Um, Definitely give those questions some thought because there's a lot that you should probably think about before you pursue this journey. um, I love these spaces too. We need more of these spaces. Um, I love to just be in a room with people and just vent about stuff. But I'm glad y'all were here with me today. Jamila, hold on, I'm gonna answer you. I'm gonna read. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jamila. I'm glad you're here. Um, but yeah, I am probably gonna wrap up in a couple minutes. Thank you all for being here. If any of y'all have like any questions that you didn't get to ask or that you want to ask privately for any reason, my Instagram is linked on my channel. People reach out to me on there all the time and ask me questions, so don't ever feel afraid to reach out. I will answer any questions to the best of my abilities, and if I don't have an answer for you, I will do my best to find an answer for you or point you in the right direction. Um, and yeah, thank you, Matisse. Yeah, and for anyone who's in school and has started their semester or is starting their semester soon, good luck to everyone. Um, I have a couple vlogs that will be going up on my channel in a few weeks, so look out for those. And this chat, this very cleansing venting space is giving me some ideas for things I might think about starting up for us. So I feel like maybe we might actually need more of these spaces, and so I'm gonna start brainstorming some things. Um, yeah, exactly. It's hard to find spaces like this. It is. All right, y'all. Thank you, and I'll see y'all soon in the channel. Bye.